It is back to school, and as our kids head back to school, the topic of bullying always becomes a little more urgent. Obviously, your kids have been in more controlled environments of a sort over the summer, and as you send them back to school, they're with a lot of other people, some of whom may choose not to be incredibly kind and polite. The first step I always teach the kids is stay away. I think every kid knows walk away. I can sit down and talk with rooms full of kids, and I go, what do you do if somebody's being a bully? And walk away, just walk away. I think stay away is better. I think it's better to not be where the problem is in the first place, to recognize who are your friends and who isn't your friend, and who's the kind of kid who gets in trouble, and then just not be where the problem is in the first place. So the first step I teach kids is stay away. Second step is walk away. If someone's bothering you, this isn't worth getting into it over. Another thing I think it's important for parents to understand about this issue. We as adults, for the most part, are interacting with other adults who have essentially agreed to behave in a civilized way because we all like having jobs and not going to jail. However, your children are in school with other children who have not necessarily made that agreement. They haven't agreed to civilized behavior. They don't have jobs, and the odds of them winding up in jail are pretty slim. And so there's a great potential for uncivilized behavior at school. In addition to that, if someone is nasty to you in grown-up land, you can leave and you don't have to go back. Your children also don't have that option. They can't simply leave at any given time, and they do have to go back. And so it's important that we have some additional tools. So, quick review. Stay away is good. Walk away is great. Third step is get help. And there are two kinds of help I ask the kids to get. The first help is to talk to you as the parent. And what I would like for you as the parent to discuss with your kids, kind of go back in your mind to all of the awful things children used to do to each other when you were your kid's age. And then tell your child how you want them to handle that. And so if somebody does this, walk away. If somebody does this, walk away. If somebody does this, let them have it. And you're the only one who can make that choice. Certainly not me, because I'm not going to get the phone call at 1 o'clock on a Tuesday afternoon. And the schools have a zero tolerance policy. They have their own concerns that they need to be careful for. But this is your child, and I know you have your opinions about that, so it's important for you to give your child clarity. In addition to that, it's not fair to expect a young child to make the right decision in the heat of the moment. They won't. They'll do something wrong, they'll be upset, they'll have hurt feelings, and that's not what you want. Also, it's very important to have this conversation because it keeps the communication conduit open. If every 6 to 9 months you're just kind of visiting with your child about how to set a healthy boundary and what the standards for your family are, then when something goes wrong, they're going to be much more comfortable coming to talk to you about it, which I also think is terribly, terribly important. The second kind of help we ask the kids to get is get help from the teacher. And there's a right and a wrong way to do that. So many kids go running up to the teacher and it's, Mrs. Johnson, Billy's picking on me, or Billy's being a jerk. And, in that wonderful whiny voice that we all love so much. It seems to me that your average adult is not in a big hurry to help a child who's whining and nagging and not communicating in a terribly effective way. They're nice people, they care about the kids, but it's exhausting, and after a while all the children just sort of sound the same anyway. And so we've got this little magic sentence that we use for the kids, and you're welcome to rehearse it at home. Mrs. Flickenflacken, Billy and I are having a problem, and I'm afraid it might get physical. Will you please help? And those words are selected deliberately. They communicate exactly the right message. The kids don't even always have to understand what all those words mean. Simply understanding how to use them makes a big, big difference. I also ask the kids, make eye contact with the teacher and speak in a respectful tone rather than whining and squeaking as they often tend to do when they're upset. So again, stay away is great, walk away is good. Third step is get help. Two kinds of get help. One is conversation with parents. The other is conversation with the teacher. Another little note on conversation with parents. It's good to touch back with this with your children every 6 to 9 months because things will change. That what's going on with your 9-year-old is going to be very different when that child is 11 and very, very different when that child is 13. We all know that as you grow up, the situations change. And so as a parent, it's, again, important to touch back on those things on a somewhat regular basis. Just offhand, hey, over dinner, you don't need to make a big ceremony out of it, but just kind of keep it in mind to have those sorts of chats. So stay away, walk away, get help, two kinds of help. Fourth step is be assertive. And when we talk about be assertive, what we're talking about is that the kid's done the other steps. They've tried to stay away from the troublemaker, and they've walked away from the troublemaker, and they've talked to you, and you've kind of given them some guidance, and they've talked to the teacher maybe several times, and the problem just isn't getting solved. Or sometimes things happen quickly, and they're on the far end of the playground, and they can't get to the teacher, or it's in a bathroom or a stairwell, because troublemakers know, where they have an advantage. And so we talk to the kids about be assertive, and we tell them to plant their feet. We call rhinoceros feet sort of a wide, strong place for your feet to be. And we talk about laser beam eyes, just good, strong eye contact that communicates their resoluteness. And then we talk about force field hand, and we tease about it being sort of like Star Wars, where they and you're kind of not really touching anyone, but making that space. And so that's be assertive. We also teach the kids to say, no, I don't want a problem. And so the other kid may say, you're dumb. No, I don't want a problem. Well, you're ugly. No, I don't want a problem. And that we're not going to get caught up in this back and forth that usually leads into somebody getting hit. And then the fifth step is defend yourself. And obviously we don't want to do that unless we absolutely have to. And I don't spend an enormous amount of time on that with kids, because really, if we're doing these other steps, we shouldn't have to do too much of that. It doesn't mean we don't want the kids to be able to. Certainly their martial arts skills are very solid, but we don't want that to be too much of a snap response. We want to make sure the kids have done all the other steps and given all the adults a chance to do what's needed as well. So stay away, walk away, get help. Two kinds of help. One is parents. The second one is talk to the teacher, Mrs. Flickenflacken. Billy and I are having a problem. I'm afraid it might get physical. Will you please help? And then be assertive, rhinoceros feet, force field hand, laser beam eyes. And then only when absolutely necessary, defend yourself.